Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Doujinshi, and look at this little fucker. Look how cool he is. Welcome back to another episode of Hentai Reviews, where I am currently sick at the moment because I show up and do things exactly when I'm supposed to. I was supposed to be at work today, but you know what I decided instead? I decided to make sure my fellow man was one of two things. One, healthy, where they don't have to be around me, and two, lacking any reason to be at home. Why? Because I'm here on your computer telling you about anime titties. Am I gay? Yes. Am I still going to show you how cool the female body is? You goddamn right I am. So let's just go ahead and get right into the actual review now, why don't we? Since we haven't done this in a minute and I am a little bit less than prepared, I've decided to go ahead and over prepare. So that's what the board is for. You see, today we're going to be reviewing Boku ni Sefure ga Dekita Riyuu, episode 1, which I do believe stands for How I Made a Sex Friend. Now, if you're not aware, there are friends that you can fuck, and I guarantee they are not going to be your best friend that you met 2 years ago while you were in the middle of high school, and then after you graduated and now you don't really have anybody unless you really had chemistry going on between them. But for most of us, it ends up just being a Tinder date away from finding somebody who has a fuck buddy in the title. Not calling anybody out, but you know who you are. That also being said, the actual episode itself does come in, as of right now, 2 episodes, the next one of which I do have on my list because I don't want to finish anything. I don't want to start anything without 100% finishing it. Forget that I made Kimi Gasuki. That shit was boring as fuck. I do not want to do the final episode for that one. That also being said, this one itself is done by Bunny Walker, running at about 16 minutes and 13 seconds, at a total of 8 categories in total, most notable of which are MILF, Big Booba, and NTR. What does NTR stand for? Non-trusting relationship. I don't know if that's actually what it means, but I'm going to go ahead and take that because someone's cheating and they are getting it well past the marital limits. Now, you're probably wondering, what is this series actually about? Because first episode, this has got to be the linchpin, the real solid driver that makes sure everybody's going to come around for episode 2, 3, 4, 5, the spin-off about the side character you saw at the grocery store for half a second, and his maid. I don't know if any of those exist, but talking out of my ass is one of my favorite things. Well, you see, this series has really 2 characters, a third really, but he has the ability to do one thing and one thing alone. That is, say goodbye to his wife, fuck off to nowhere. You see, character-wise, we are dealing with Anan. Now, I don't know if this is a Japanese name or not. I don't know if Anan is a thing, but I immediately went to the fucking Pepe face and just assumed it was a 4chan joke. You can think what you want if you have a better functioning mind than I do. That also being said, the girl in this one, the main girl, is Hitomi, our resident MILF, or how you can classify them, because I'm starting to think anime MILFs are pretty much just regular anime girls who are claimed to be above the age of 30 and usually have big boobs. I mean, there's really no distinction between MILFs and normal females in anime other than their age or, that haircut. You know that one haircut that shows up in every single anime that says, hey, I'm going to die for plot reasons because I'm the main character's mom? I am looking directly at Attack on Titan and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I know exactly the hairstyle. You do too. We all saw that one Tumblr post meme about how that is the way you get killed for plot reasons. Rant aside, the actual series itself is really only about 16 minutes and 13 seconds, and is not really that long, specifically because I chose it to be not that long ahead of time. Getting back into the swing of things does take a little bit of time, and I am my own special sort of ADHD. Never been tested, really think I should. I have no ability to focus on anything whatsoever. Example A. Look how unpainted he is. Look how gray. Now, this actual episode itself only has what I would classify as 2 sex scenes. Now, they're polar opposites, both of them. One of them does not take place in physical reality, specifically because it is all in the person's head, because he's fantasizing about it, because 18-year-old boys do what 18-year-old boys do. Randomly think about who they can fuck at any given moment. And then the actual one is the reason you all started watching this in the first place. Specifically because it is about half the length. So let's go ahead and get into that. Our first actual scene is from 2:45 to 3:05, running at about 20 seconds, I believe, and there's a little bit sprinkled in past that point. Now, it's not great. It's definitely not the reason you're here. Now, that's really just the fantasy aspect of it. It kind of pushes it forward, really shows the guy is nothing but thinking with one head instead of the other. Now, the second one is where most of the actual reasoning is. At minute 7, second 20, all the way to 14 minutes and 40 seconds in, is when the actual sexening happens throughout the entirety of the episode. Now, it lasts for nearly the entire second half of the episode, which is for plot reasons, which I honestly don't think I got into. Alright, roll it back. The plot of the series itself revolves around one thing, and that is a B-grade ass porn plot. We all know it. Kid comes home. He has a hot neighbor. Hot neighbor, really attractive. Unfortunately, has a husband. Now, the husband is very rarely shown. Why? Because he is a plot device used only for this tag. He has no personality, is not there, doesn't matter. But they are still in a relationship altogether. So, kid comes home, sees the girl has clothing hung up, and thinks, man, that has touched a naked female before. You have no idea how erect I am. So, we continue forward, the character going to school, fantasizing about her, and thinking, wow, clothes have touched women. I'm so turned on. And then continues forward like his day is normal. Until one day, he sees her in the silhouette of her living room, slowly removing clothes and getting the outermost silhouettes of her naked bits. The vagina and boobs and that thing I've never seen in physical person. Listen, remember, if you can't find women, the homies have got you covered. That also, pushing forward, after that, he has his very big, stroke of, I need this girl right now. But he doesn't act on it because he's a gentleman. Pushes forward to the next day. She stops him and says, hey, I saw you. Why are you looking at me, perv? And he has almost an immediate stroke and almost dies. To which case she responds with, you don't look when you can touch. And he's like, the fuck? And then they immediately start going at it at the end of the day when she wants to give him a little bit of a talking to, which then leads into scene number 2, running from 7 minutes and 20 seconds all the way to 14 minutes and 40 seconds, which is the entire second half of it, which is what I'd like to call the if there is a hidden camera, then there is a lawsuit going on. Specifically from the husband's point of view, God rest his non-functioning soul that has been written out of reasons, just so you can add the NTR effect to this. Now, after all that, kind of mellows out. Second episode, I haven't looked into yet, so plot thickens. Who's gonna be around? Who's gonna be cocked? And who's going to be considered America's next top model? Which brings me to my next point. The ratings for this one. Now, we all have our own opinions when it comes to the hentai sphere and how we can all rate one thing or the next, whether it be the animation, the story in the background, or the plot that has driven the entire reason you're watching it. We all have our own ways of discussing whether or not the actual content is very much worth watching. Unfortunately for you guys, though, I'm correct. There are no other opinions. Get used to it. That being said, my correct opinions, objectively, are as follows. The animation is a solid 6 out of 10. At least that's how far I can go ahead and describe it, specifically for the reason that there's no real consistency when it comes to how great the animation is, But where the animation does shine is some very smooth moments that continue forward into what I like to say a few too many loopings that go on. You know, those ones where it's like, here's a good camera angle, we're going to zoom out, zoom in, pan up, pan down, however you will. And then they have this one really bit of smooth animation that they just kind of focus on for about 5 seconds, move on to the next one, and then they push forward. 6 out of 10? It's not bad. Not everybody is IGN where you say 7 out of 10 when something is the greatest game of all time and then they just leave it at that and call it mid. 6 out of 10 is above average. Respect it when it's there. Now, the actual story and the reason people watch this outside of it, because there's some of those pretentious assholes out there who are deciding to watch it for the story alone. I know I am. Not enough men in porn these days. That's why I watch the women to see how good of an actress they can be. Voice actresses are actually really fucking good in hentai. I don't know why they put a lot of effort into it, but they fucking rock when they do. So, the story itself goes in at about a 6 out of 10. There's a charm of the actual, B-grade plot to it, of kid has crush. Crush is unavailable. Crush tempts him. They get together despite the inavailability. And then it becomes something of a tag that is not very much liked across the board, but when it is there, and you do have a reason for it, NTR specifically, it's done right. 6 out of 10 comes in for a not very, not complex plot. It's only 16 minutes. How complex can the plot be? But it's also enjoyable for the classicness of it. Really simple. It's in about 1,000 different things. Aged to perfection the same way most tropes are. You know you hate the tropes, but the tropes are there for a reason. They draw people in. Now, that also being said, the actual, plot we're all here for. You know the plot. Is again, a 6 out of 10. Now, why do I say that? Other than the draw of the NTR tag itself, big boobs and MILF really don't have as much of a draw as you'd think. It's mostly like one of the biggest fetishes that most people can have is usually an act that is performed during the moment of nakedness. Now, it's not that it's particularly boring when it comes to it, but it is well animated, which adds a little bit to it. But it's also pretty vanilla. Other than that, it's, your stock standard PP going vajiji, and then we kind of just push forward with that. Guy is happy that boobs are in his face at any point, shape, or form, and then they kind of just continue like it's just normal sex after that point. Very classic, very standard, a little safe when it needs to be, but I mean, these are well drawn. They're, even in my opinion, there's a ratio of size to cartoonish effect of everything going on below the chest cavity that is fucking solid. And honestly, it got a legit chuckle out of me at one point that I thought was legitimately funny. I did not mention that before, but I feel like I should. I'm not going to ruin the joke, because if you do decide to watch this, it's a funny joke. Now, the overall score for it, surprising no one, is when you mix 666, you don't get the devil, you average them together, and you get another 6. And then that's 4 6s. You know what you can't summon the devil with? 4 6s. You need 3. That's why I wrote 6. Fuck you, Beetlejuice. I don't work on that logic. So, would I say that this is overall worth it? At really 16 minutes and you decide to watch the entirety of the whole thing, it's not the worst way to spend that lonely afternoon, but it's also not something that I'd put in the vaults, really, unless you really have a hard-on for NTR. Other than that, it's a solid entry. I wouldn't say it's anything bad. 6 out of 10 still is above average, but not above average the way you're that childhood Pokemon game that everybody had is above average compared to all the other ones. It just doesn't hit that status. But at just under a quarter of an hour, it's not a bad choice. So yeah, 6 out of 10. Let's call it there. Thank you everybody for being here. I have been your resident flaky asshole who doesn't even have the proper attire for these anymore. Why? The lab coat is in there somewhere. I have so much stuff in that closet. I legit can't find it. And really, this was more of a spur of the moment. I'm going to get this done, regardless of anything that happens. I'm going to spend tomorrow editing this, and then it'll be released. I don't know when. Currently, it's like the 17th of October. But I'm going to beat the shit out of myself until I do get it out. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you everybody who's new that has actually subscribed since that period of just awkwardness where I haven't uploaded anything. And thank you to everybody who legitimately stuck around since the beginning. You have no idea how much I appreciate you. The bottom of my heart, I love and appreciate you guys, and let's do the actual outro for once. Remember, have a nice day, don't be a dick, and wash your fucking hands. I've been the doctor, and I am sick. Peace.